Hello and welcome back to another video. This week I want to talk to you guys about how to start running. Running is very trendy right now and a lot of people are trying to pick it up as a hobby or just a new form of exercise. And I want to talk about my journey as someone who started from absolutely nothing when it comes to exercise to now training for my first marathon. So let's get into it. So for some backstory, I started my fitness weight loss journey in 2021. I was fresh out of the military, and you might think that if you're in the military, you're in really good shape, but no, maybe in like the Army or Marines, but in the Navy, we only had one PT test a year, and I would literally wait until right before the PT test to start working out, and I did not do well, but that was just my experience. I know I'm not the only one. Prior to the military, I was not in shape growing up. I joined the tennis team when I was in high school because I thought it was gonna be the easiest sport, and then I quit my sophomore year and I literally didn't do anything else until I joined the military and I had to train for the military. But again, it wasn't very extensive. So when I was getting out in 2021, I had already stopped working out altogether because I did my last PT test a long time before my actual termination date. So I hadn't worked out in a very long time. And at that time as well, I had gained the most weight that I have ever weighed in my entire life. So when I say that I was a beginner when I first started running, I mean it like to the truest form. I had never done anything like what I'm doing right now, okay? So back to 2021, I had just gotten out of the military. I was going through a lot mentally, emotionally, and I had gained the most weight that I have ever gained in my entire life. And I was always chubby growing up, and I was always like, I was an emotional eater, and I still am, but not that bad anymore. But I really just did not have any control over my eating habits, my exercise habits, or anything like that. And once I hit like my heaviest weight, something told me like, you need to start getting it together, because there are so many people in my family that have health issues and that have suffered from health issues their entire lives. And I was like, I don't want to be somebody that also experiences that for the rest of my life, because I knew it just wasn't gonna be good for me. So I picked up a workout plan from some influencer, insert name here, on Instagram. Literally anyone that you could think of, I probably tried a lot of them, and I failed, obviously. I kept trying like crazy diets and workout challenges and all kinds of stuff, and nothing ever worked. Now in hindsight, I realize it's because I just thought that like I was gonna lose weight really quickly, I was gonna get in shape really quickly, and that's just not how it works when you're trying to do like a big lifestyle change like this. It takes a lot of time. I kind of did that all of 2021, like yo-yo dieting, going on and off, and by the time 2022 rolled around, I was like irritated because I felt like I had wasted an entire year. But realistically, it was the first time in my life that I had tried consistently for a year to do anything. So it did plant a couple of good seeds for me mentally to actually like make some changes in my life. Like, hey, I can do some things for a year. It doesn't mean I succeeded at them, but I did something for a year. So that's good. I did try to run a couple of times in 2021, but I was experiencing a lot of foot pain and knee pain and just all kinds of different issues. I just kind of assumed that running was not for me. And in reality, it was just like, I was just doing too much to start out with. But in 2022, I started the thing that kind of changed my entire life, which was walking, which I know a lot of people don't really look at walking as an exercise. It 100% is. I love walking. If I could walk every single day for the rest of my life, I would, and I will if I can. I started out by just getting up and going on like a 30-minute walk every day, and I would try to increase it as time went on. So some days I would walk like a mile, some days I would walk 3. It kind of just depended. I didn't have like a set amount of miles that I had assigned for myself. I just kind of did whatever I felt like, really. This was until the summer of 2022 when I decided that I wanted to walk 10 miles a day for 35 days. And I did this because I wanted to kind of simulate me walking the Camino de Santiago, which I'm doing this upcoming May. March, April, May. Yeah, this upcoming May. And it was like, I wanted to do the Camino. I didn't think I would be able to. So I was like, let me walk 10 miles a day, because that's kind of the average for that adventure. And I was like, I want to see if I can do this. You know, at that point I had lost like maybe 30 pounds. I was feeling really good. I was like, and I didn't go back to school yet until September. So I was like, let me try this out. I have some time on my hands. We'll see how it goes. And it lit such a spark in me that I have never felt in my entire life. I was so inspired that I was able to do that. And I was like, you know what? I think I need to try to start running again. And I'm so glad that I did that. I think the experience of making myself go outside every day and like just get outside and walk and move my body really made a difference in the way that I see my day and the structure of my day, because it set me up to be like, hey, every day I'm gonna go outside. And then I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna go outside every day, I should try to run. I just got to the point with walking where I was like, I still love walking, but I felt like I needed to try to push myself. And that was why I started to get back into running and get interested in it again. This time around, I decided to take my running journey very seriously. I was like, let me get this right this time. I don't wanna have to go through a cycle of like doing things over and over and over again. I made a plan for myself that was very manageable and doable, but there are still a few things that I would have done differently if I was starting from the beginning. So this is where the tips and tricks for how to start running are gonna come in, because these are things that I would have done if I knew then what I know now about running, now that I'm training for a marathon. We need some water first because your girl is thirsty. I feel like I have a frog in my throat and I don't know if you guys can hear it, and I hope it goes away. It's really annoying. So if you want to start running, the first thing that I would do is figure out how much you can even run in the first place. Like just go outside and try to run a half mile and see what point you stop at, see how you're feeling, see how you're breathing, feel your feet, your knees, just feel into your body and see how it goes. You need to get a good idea of what your baseline is going to be at so that you can get a good idea of what your plan is going to look like long term. Because if you can only run for a half mile, your plan is not going to start out with you training for a marathon. It's probably going to start out with you training for a 5K and then a 10K and then a half, if that's something that you're looking to do. And it's easier to go into running with a mindset of training because it's easier to create a plan for yourself or to get a plan. And that's on to the next part of this. I wish I would have had some kind of plan. The plan that I created for myself when I first started running was very basic, and it was very, I want to say easy almost. Like I definitely could have done a lot more. I think if you're just starting out with running, it's really important to have some kind of structure. So I would use like the None to Run app, the Couch to 5K, or even Nike has some training plans or guided runs that you can use to facilitate your training. I made a lot of my plans myself and I still do to this day, but I do think that I would have started running sooner if I had a plan already made for me, instead of like waking up one day and being like, I'm gonna run a mile today. And then I didn't because I wasn't prepared to run a mile. You know what I mean? Great thing about those kind of programs is a lot of time they'll base it on your experience level, and it makes it easier because you don't really have to do any of the guesswork. You just know on Monday I have to run a half mile. And a lot of times they'll explain what different types of runs are. I do want to make a video on that in the future on like breaking down different run types so that you guys know what they are, because I've been running for a minute now and I'm just actually figuring out what different types of runs are, but that comes in the future. Yeah, definitely look into getting a plan for yourself, making one for yourself if you feel confident in doing that, or buying one from someone. You can do that too. So next, one of the hardest things about running, oh my gosh, is learning how to breathe. You do not realize how difficult it is to breathe until you try to push your body forward. It's so stressful and it's so irritating. It took me so long to get to the point where I actually felt like I could breathe when I was running. So here are a couple of things that I've done to help me get better at that. Off the bat, no matter what kind of run you're doing, you need to start off super, super slow. Like almost so slow that it feels like you're walking, because if you jump out the gate on a run going super fast, you're gonna spike your heart rate and you are going to be breathing in like panting. And this was one of the big problems that I had when I first started running. I had a tendency to go out the gate super fast and I just could not catch my breath. It was the same reason that I could never figure out how to go long distances when I was running, because I would make it for like 10 minutes and then I would be like, oh my gosh, my heart feels like it's gonna explode and I don't know what to do, so I would just stop. So start out super slow, and when you're breathing, a lot of people say to breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, breathe only in through your nose. I think that that's a personal preference. I breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth, but something that's helped me to breathe slower is to breathe with the cadence of my feet. So if I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then out 2, 3, 4. So I'm stepping 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going but in through my nose and out through my mouth. And that is how I breathe on my runs. I actually think that that's like the easiest way to start out, is to give yourself something to think about. try to do it a little bit slower. So if you're running slow, your breathing should be slow. So hopefully that works for you. If it doesn't work for you, you can try a different breathing method. There's a lot of resources online for different types of breathing methods, but that's just what worked for me. The next thing I would do in the beginning is to get good running shoes. I talked about this in my running gear video that I posted like 2 weeks ago. Running shoes are so expensive and it's really is an investment. It's really annoying. I do not like buying running shoes to this day because they are just so pricey and it's really frustrating. You only need one pair when you first start out. Just get one good pair, and I would recommend going to a store to get your feet fitted, like REI or Fleet Feet, one of those stores. There's, I think some other stores do it too, but it might be different depending on what part of the country that you're in or the world, if we have people from around the world watching these videos. But yeah, so go to whatever store you can go to that will fit your feet, and make sure that your feet fit properly in the shoe. I literally said that like 3 times and I messed it up, and I'm not gonna show you what it sounded like before. When I first started running, I wore some pretty beat up running shoes that I had had for years, and it messed my feet up so bad. It was causing me so much pain, and I'm 100% certain that the only reason I was experiencing pain to the level that I was is because I was wearing the wrong running shoes. They were too tight, they were old, the soles were beat down. Any support that I could have gotten from those shoes was gone years ago, okay? So make sure that you get some good shoes, because it's also important because your toes sometimes are not the same shape as the shoe. Like there's a shoe brand called Ultras, and I love them because they have a really wide toe box. So if you have wider feet, those might be better for you. You might have narrow feet, so you might like something like a Solomon or something like that, but it really just depends on you and your feet. There are a lot of shoes that are trending right now, and the best shoe is gonna be the one that fits you. So make sure that you're actually getting some good shoes. Just get one pair to start out with and wear those until you need a new pair. Next thing I would do is create a very small stretch routine. I am a notorious non-stretcher. Well, I used to be, I'm not anymore. I literally don't like stretching. Some days when I wake up, I'm like, I just wanna go on the run and get it over with. Stretching almost is like a deterrent for me when it comes to running, because I don't know. I can't explain it. It irritates me, okay? I used to get the most insane shin splints and cramps and all kinds of stuff, and a lot of that goes away with experience and continuing to run, but some of it can be prevented with a really good warm-up routine. The warm-up routine that I have is pretty simple, but I have a lot of hot spots on my body because I have injuries from being in the military and other things throughout my life. So I do have like a routine that's kind of more focused on those pieces so that I can make sure that they're really warmed up and ready to go. But anything that you find online that says like running warm-up routine, a lot of those are gonna be pretty good to go. You can customize those so that it fits better to whatever your body feels like it needs. But a lot of times you just need to make sure that you're hitting all of your joints, as many as you can, and just making sure that you're getting truly warmed up. You don't wanna go out and go on a run without being warm, because it increases your chance of injury. There's also this thing where apparently if you over warm up, like you warm up too much, it can cause injury too, but I have no idea what that's about. I don't think I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever warmed up enough, actually. Don't yell at me. A little pro tip for shin splints, because I used to get them so bad. Get a tennis ball and roll it on the top of your shins. It will feel a lot better, and then put some ice on it. A lot of times when you're getting shin splints, for me, I noticed it was because I was running on concrete for the first time. A lot of people get shin splints and they think like, I'm gonna have these forever, but they do go away. A lot of it is like, you have to get used to it. Your muscles have to get used to it. And it's not something that happens for no reason. It's because you're putting your body through like really hard impact, which also goes back to shoes, but it's gonna happen whether you have good shoes or not. So make sure that you're just taking the time to like recover. Roll some tennis balls on there, put some ice, and you should be good to go. I did have shin splints for like the first, I'm not gonna lie, I think it was like the first 5 months of me running really consistently, and it was awful, but they just went away and they never came back. I have not had a shin splint since. This one's kind of random, but I feel like it's really important to find a place to run at that you actually like. I have lived in multiple neighborhoods that I wouldn't or couldn't run at throughout my life, okay? And now I live in a neighborhood that I can run in, but I found a lot of parks and a lot of other places that I can run at to facilitate my training. Finding a nice little park that has like a 2-mile loop is such a great way to make sure that you have a space to run at, that you feel safe, that you feel comfortable, that maybe you're not by a major highway, because like I live by a major road right now and I drive over, or I'll walk over to the park that I run at, but I don't run by it. But I also think it's nice to like be in an area where you're kind of in nature. I feel like something about starting my journey in nature makes me want to be in nature for the rest of my life. And I am really excited for whatever other adventures we go on this channel, because I'm trying to take you guys outside, okay, with me, because I love being outdoors. But when you're running, you really want to make sure that you're somewhere that feels safe, that feels open, because a lot of times if I have ran in a couple of places where I was feeling like I'm about to get robbed or I'm about to get kidnapped. And guess what? My run went terrible because I was scared and my adrenaline was pumping and I was terrified. So I never ran at those places again. And I know it's avoidable, especially for a lot of us who like grew up in neighborhoods that we couldn't run in or even walk in. So if you can, try to find somewhere, try to find a park, somewhere that you're safe and somewhere that you're comfortable to run at. It makes a huge difference in your running experience. And I still to this day will drive 25 minutes to run at a park if I feel like it's worth it. I think the final and most important part to starting a running journey is to be patient. Running is hard as it is, but if you're starting from the very beginning like I did, it is a very, very long road ahead of you. So you really want to give yourself the gift of patience and tell yourself that it's okay to take your time. I'm so sorry if the sound is like weird. As you guys know, I am figuring this out as I go, and I don't know if my air conditioning or my dryer is messing this up, okay? So apologies in advance. But you really need to give yourself the gift of patience and allow yourself to adapt to this new thing in your life. I always say that, like, for me, I have never done anything like this. I've never been active. I didn't like grow up in a family that was really active. So it was really a huge change for me to incorporate any kind of movement in my life, but especially running. And it's not easy to make these kind of changes, but it is 100% worth it. And I think that it just takes time and patience and practice, and you will get there, okay? Okay, so for a little recap, here's what you want to do. You want to create a plan for yourself or get a plan from somewhere that is going to be helpful. You want to get a baseline of what running feels like and how far you can go, just to get a small idea. Get outside, run a half mile, see how you feel. You want to learn to breathe, okay? Breathe in whatever way is most comfortable to you. Breathe in whatever way makes you feel like you can actually breathe in air. Some people breathe in different ways, and whatever way works for you works for running. You want to invest in some good running shoes, good quality that fit your feet. The best shoes are shoes that fit you. You want to get a very small stretch routine, something that can get you started, get you limber, get your muscles nice and warmed up for your runs. Find a nice area to run in, and just be patient with yourself. It's such a fun journey and it's so worth it. It does take time, it takes patience, it takes practice, but I promise you, once you start getting to the point where running feels like you're basically walking, it is like the funnest thing. That's my favorite part. Like, some days are still hard, don't get me wrong, but there are some days where I go out on a run, I'll go to run like 10 miles and I'm just out there. It doesn't feel difficult. It's just something that I'm doing, and it feels so nice to know that I've gotten to that point, but it does take time and you have to prepare yourself the proper way. I honestly never thought that I would be training for a marathon. It literally never crossed my mind throughout my entire life. It never interested me, but I have truly fallen in love with this sport, and I'm really excited to share my love of running with you guys. But again, all of these things are just things that I wish I knew when I first started out, or things that I wish I would have incorporated sooner. Those things might not align with you fully, and that's okay. Take what works and leave the rest behind, okay? You're never gonna know what works until you try, so get outside and give it a shot, okay? And remember that, yes, it's probably gonna hurt the first couple of times. It's probably gonna suck, but that doesn't mean it's not for you. If your goal is to just go on a little Saturday morning stroll every week, I hope that this video was informative and helpful. And if there's anything else that you guys are curious about when it comes to my running journey or even my fitness or weight loss journey, leave it in the comments and I will make another video in the future. But thank you so much for joining me for this week's video, and I will see you next week for, I don't know, maybe we'll do a vlog. Maybe I'll do like a day off vlog. What I do when I'm not running, when I'm not at work. I don't know, we'll see. But I will see you guys next week. Bye.